Hello and welcome to my review of the Space Marines Gladiator tank for Warhammer 40,000 from Games Workshop. One of these kits will set you back £52.50 and it consists of 157 plastic components. It's essentially the Impulsor kit with an extra sprue. So you're getting that extra sprue with the new turret and some additional vehicle accessories like the canisters and things, and new sponsons. It's worth noting that the Impulsor consists of 108 components, so that means there are 49 more pieces in this kit, which is pretty much 50% extra if you want to look at it from a parts point of view. I'll ramble on for a little bit more, but then we'll look at the detail of the tank. We'll go through some size comparisons, and then we will go through all of the rules for it and compare it to the other variants. Now this kit, you can make one out of the three variants. I wanted to just draw comparisons with the Impulsor and my theory of this perceived value. When the Impulsor came out, it was very expensive, £45 for a troop transport that can only transport 6 infantry models. Primaris, of course, it bridges the gap there between a Rhino and a Primaris transport. It does mean that it's missing out on its 10 transport capacity that the Repulsor has. It is faster though than the Repulsor, and significantly so. The Impulsor has a movement speed of 14 inches compared to the Repulsor, which is a bit slow at 10 inches. And it's a similar case with this vehicle too. It forgoes any transport capacity at all, which is strange considering you're only getting a brand new main cannon. Now, if you look at it from an Impulsor point of view, the Impulsor has the sponsored Stormbolters, and it technically has a main weapon on top. It can be equipped with a Bellicartus missile array or an Iron Hail Sky Talon array, or you can just go for a Shield Dome or Orbital Comms array. So it is pretty annoying that although technically you're getting the same number of weapons, it forgoes any troop capacity at all. It would have been nice that if it could carry, I don't know, 5 or 6 Primaris, but I totally understand that this is more of a kind of main battle tank, medium tank, compared to the, I want to say, troop transport focused Impulsor, but it's not really, because it can only carry 6. It's a tricky one. It does have a sliding door at the back, which is nice. That's a brand new piece. We've never seen that before, and it does have a chubby antenna. It has a couple of different frag launchers on the top, but you only get one of the rounded frag launcher, so bear that in mind. And the final note on the Impulsor is you don't need to magnetize this to turn it into an Impulsor at all, really. You get the larger sponsons. If you're going for this variant, then the Impulsor, of course, can use these sponsons with the Stormbolters. But if you're going for the other two, so the 3 variants you can make are the Lancer, which this one is, the Reaper, which has the twin heavy onslaught Gatling cannons, and the Valiant. If you're going for this variant, then yes, you can technically take this turret off. You can choose to not glue this top area along with this rear plate, and then put the Impulsor's kind of half canopy on there, and it is an Impulsor. So that is great. However, if you choose the other 2 options, then one of the parts for these sponsons, both of the parts for the sponsons can only be used in one of the sponsons. So what I mean by that is you're gonna have to have the larger sponsons with either the multi-melters or the Tempest bolters, and they are bigger. The fixing position is bigger. So if you thought you could magnetize these Stormbolters on those, it's not really going to work. They're going to look tiny, going to look out of place. Yeah, so technically you can have the Impulsor with this Lancer variant, but if you go for the other 2, the Reaper and the Valiant, then it's going to be very tricky to do that. Another point I'd like to make while we're on options is if you pick one of the other 2, the Valiant or the Reaper, you can hot swap them. What I mean by that is you can magnetise the sponsons. Because they use the larger sponsons as opposed to this Lancer that only uses the smaller ones, you can hot swap the multi-melters with the Tempest bolters, no problem. And also, if you choose not to glue this underside of the turret, you can hot swap both the twin las talons and the twin heavy onslaught Gatling cannons. So there are options there if you pick one of those two to go between each version. But if you go for the Lancer, there's an option for you to have it as a Impulsor. So I hope that's clear for you. If you've got any questions, please put them in the comments below or ask me on Discord. Now, Games Workshop have dubbed this as a Predator kind of replacement. That's an odd thing to say. Yes, this main turret is very decent. Yes, this tank can fly, but even though it's got the repulsor plates, it's still slower than a Predator, which means it's going to take longer to get into range. And for the other two variants, the Valiant and the Reaper, they've got shorter range weapons. The Predator cannon is still amazing with its 4 shots, and I wouldn't underestimate the twin link las cannon and the side sponson las cannons. This seems like a bit of a downgrade in terms of speed and the weapons that it's equipped with. Where you're getting the increase though is its strength and its toughness and its wounds. Small margins though, but going from toughness 7 of a Predator to a toughness 8 of the Lancer is considerable. They still have the same number of attacks, but again, that extra strength will help it. It's only got 1 extra wound, but it is slower. I don't think that's the best trade-off in the world, but the extra ability that you're getting with the Lancer is this Aquilin optics. They used to have a rule in the 8th edition codex whereby if the repulsor executioner didn't move, it could fire twice. I would have preferred that rather than adding 1 to the attack hit roll, especially on a tank like this equipped with the Lancer laser destroyer. So without further ado then, let's have a look at the detail. As I've mentioned already, it is essentially an Impulsor. It's got the same chassis except for, you know, the turret and this armoured ceiling and this rear of the tank. You get a couple of vehicle accessories which are optional, especially these canister things. There's no mounting points, you don't need to put them on there. These fuel canisters or armoured compartments, whatever you want to call them, the tank is going to look a bit strange without them on there, I'll tell you that. Maybe there is a Blood Angels heavy flamer or Redeemer flamer variant coming that will have these as larger fuel tanks maybe, but there we go. You get a couple of other extras as well, like this new targeting array. This is the Aquilin optics, I would imagine. The turret itself, I'll go through the spare parts in a moment. You get these different auto launchers, you get the different main weapon, in this case the Lancer laser destroyer. You get another little optics there and a number of these breakable transmitter pylons. So there you go, that's the main differences there. If you built an Impulsor before, you know what you're getting yourself in for. I've read some comments from people on the unboxing video at least. What's the point of even getting the Impulsor now if you can turn this into an Impulsor? Well, as I mentioned at the start, it really depends on whether you have this as a Lancer. If you have it as a Reaper or a Valiant, that's going to be more tricky to do. And of course, if you just want an Impulsor, then you're going to save yourself £7.50. It's up to you whether you want to pay that extra £7.50 for the option for one of the variants to be turned into an Impulsor. I think it's not out of the realms of possibility for Games Workshop to phase out the Impulsor kit, reduce the price, I know, shock, of this kit to £50 once they've made their money back on it, and then have it as a dual kit. Just like they did with the Rhino and Razorback. For many years they had the Rhino and Razorback as 2 different products, and then eventually they merged them into one. Again, they did that with the Crusader and the Redeemer, and then they brought them into line and had them in 2 kits in one, and they've done that with the Baneblade and Shadow Sword. Where they can, they like to put different variants into one kit. This is a prime example too, where you've got 3 different variants. 4, if you don't want to use the turret and things, you can have it as an Impulsor. So that's what you're getting yourself in for in terms of the detail. I built this in the live stream. If you missed out on the live stream but you're a member, you can go back and watch my 3-hour stream where I built it. And if you become a member, you also get access to all of the other live streams that I've put up. Everything from building an Astreus to a Cerastus Knight to big Warlord Titan weapons, and your support is greatly appreciated. Okay, so as I was recording this review, I got so carried away with this tank and giving you as much information as possible that I completely overlooked us looking at the spare parts. So we'll do that now with the power of the internet and the power of editing and things. You get an awful lot of spare parts. So yes, it's £52.50, but look at all these chickens. I mean, all these parts. So yeah, you're getting the other weapons, which I've already explained. You can hot swap with the turret. If you've got a generous opponent, they're your friend. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that's still the case after your gaming session. Then they may well allow you to, obviously you can hot swap this, that's no issue with the turret, but they may allow you to just for instance say that these storm bolters are the multi-melters, you know, and then you can have the las talons in there, and it saves your friend from forcing you to travel all the way back into a Games Workshop store and spend another £52.50. If you're facing me, I'd say that's absolutely fine. I'd say if you want to use it as a Reaper or a Valiant, I don't care what it's got on the top or on the sponsons. If you've got it written down, you can play it as that with me. That's fine. I know if you go and play tournaments and things, you typically have to have the weapons represented on the model of, you know, in your list. But that's another matter. So yeah, you do get the las talons, as you can see. You know, 2 of them. You get the shield wall, no, the shield dome even, which sort of goes on there. So that's great if you want to use it as an impulsor. And speaking of which, this is the extra canopy thing that you can put on there. This is the Bellicatus array. So again, if you've already got an impulsor and you've just bought a Gladiator, hey, you've now discovered that you can build the shield dome, or you can build a Bellicatus array, or you can build the Iron Hail weapon system. So yeah, anyway, these are the larger side sponson armor mounts, which I have pertained to earlier in the review. They are bigger than the current ones, as you can see, and that is to accommodate both the multi-melters and the Tempest bolters, I think they're called. I keep forgetting their name. But you get the tips to the heavy onslaught Gatling cannons. You get the comms array, which would normally be on the impulsor. You get the larger, beefier sponson mounts for the multi-melters and Tempest bolters with a skull and crossbones on. Maybe they're pirates, I don't know. And then you get the additional frag launchers, and I think and you also get this bad boy, which is your Icarus rocket pod. So yeah, you can put that on the side instead of both of these boxy type ones. And this is also for the Bellicatus array, and you get a few heads actually. Oh, that one's nearly disappeared forever. But yeah, you get a few heads there. Typical one with a shunted nose grill, box grill. And they're the onslaught Gatling cannons as well, barrels of them, and the shield dome accessory. So yeah, you do get a fair number of parts, which yeah, you could possibly use on your other tanks or use on the impulsor that you may already have. So just putting that out there. Let's carry on with the review. Let's go through some of the size comparisons for this tank. So here I have the aforementioned impulsor. It's the same size. It's just got this extra canopy, armor canopy piece. It's just one piece, and then it's got a rear, and then it's got the turret. So if you've got an impulsor or two, again, you kind of understand the size of it compared to one of these. It's going to look like a tank. It's going to look like a tank with a turret compared to them, where this impulsor looks a bit half finished and accentuates these air intakes and thrusters. Comparing it to, and I know you want me to do this comparison, a a Repulsor Executioner. I didn't expect that the Lancer Laser Destroyer would be this thin. It's a fair bit thinner than the Executioner's weapon, but there we go. The turret is huge on the Repulsor. I think someone thought it would be the same chassis, the Repulsor and the Gladiator. They're not. The Gladiator is the Impulsor chassis, and the Repulsor Executioner is the, of course, Repulsor's chassis. It's worth noting that, yes, for comedy purposes, you can put the Executioner's turret on the Gladiator, and it looks extremely silly, but quite strange having this massive turret on there. It does look out of place. It doesn't look like the vehicle could support the weight of that rotating turret. And likewise, you can also put the Gladiator's turret on the Executioner. So again, that doesn't look in keeping with the tank, but you can do that nonetheless. There's no point in me showing you a size comparison with a normal Repulsor, because this is the same size as one of those. However, I would like to show you a comparison with a Land Raider and a Predator. So here is a Land Raider. It's higher than a Land Raider, but of course nowhere near as thick. And compared to the Predator Annihilator, it's a tricky one. I don't think it's as wide. I think it's a little bit, it's definitely wider at the rear, and it is, I say bigger, it's taller. It does have more presence, but it doesn't have anything there to help it in terms of the sponsons. Whereas if you look at the Predator, it does have those awesome sponsons. But there you go. That's the comparison I wanted to make between these two tanks. I think the Predator is still cheaper compared to this Gladiator, but yeah, very thin tank. The way they've opted to go for the Impulsor as to this larger one. I mean, I guess the Gladiator looks more sort of streamlined. The Predator is showing its age, but yeah, there you go. They're the differences, really. Okay, so now you're on to the final part of my review, where I will be going through all of the rules for this Gladiator Lancer. I'll do a few comparisons with the other two variants as well, and I'll definitely be doing that once I get my hands on the Storm Speeders. So the Gladiator Lancer costs you 11 power points or 200 points. You're going to have to pay an extra 5 points for the auto launchers, the Icarus rocket pod, and the Iron Hail heavy stubber. So it's one of these units whereby the number of wounds remaining affects its profile. So it starts off with 12 wounds, and if it has 7 or more, its movement speed is 10 inches, weapon skill 6+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 7, toughness 8, 12 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and a save of 3+. If it's got between 4 and 6 wounds, its movement speed is 5 inches, weapon skill 6+, ballistic skill 4+, strength 7, toughness 8, D3 attacks, leadership 8, and a save of 3+. And then between 1 and 3 wounds, its movement speed drops all the way down to 3 inches, and its ballistic skill drops down to 5+, and it only gets 1 attack. Gladiator Lancer is equipped with a Lancer Laser Destroyer and 2 Stormbolters. So the Lancer Laser Destroyer is the main reason why you'd get this tank. It's a 72-inch range, heavy 2, strength 10, AP -3, damage D3 +3. So that is a very, very decent weapon. It's got a great range, so if you're playing on a big board, then it really is going to be worth it. To get that range, you know, if you're going up against Knights or Titans, then again that 72-inch range is going to help. How does it compare to the heavy laser destroyer that the Executioner has? Well, that does have a better strength. It has a strength of 12 and a better AP at -4, so that's what you're paying your extra points for. The laser destroyer is decent against high toughness vehicles and units. However, it's not going to be able to pack as much a punch against the heavily armoured units with their 2+ saves. It's also equipped with 2 Stormbolters. They work as usual, 24-inch range, rapid fire 2, strength 4, AP 0, damage 1, or the Fragstorm grenade launcher, or you can replace the Stormbolters with Fragstorm grenade launchers for a range of 18 inch, assault D6, strength 4, AP 0 and a damage of 1, and it's blast. Now my Impulsor is equipped with Fragstorm grenade launchers, and as the sponsons are compatible, I can swap them both out, and that's the main reason why I chose the Storm Bolters for this one, as well as the extra sort of 6-inch range. If it's equipped with auto launchers, then the bearer has the smokescreen keywords. The auto launchers are these things on the side. It can replace one of them with an Icarus rocket pod, which is a decent thing to take because it's only a short range weapon, but it is of 24 inches, but it's heavy D3, strength 7, AP -1 and a damage of 2, and it's blast. Each time an attack is made with this weapon against an aircraft unit, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. So it gives you an extra 3 shots and also allows you to take out flyers if they get you know, within those 24 inches. Hopefully your opponent's using their flyers at a range of further than that so that they don't become a target. I didn't equip mine with one of them, but the other 2 variants I definitely would because they're much more closer. I'm going to have to get into closer proximity of enemy units. This one I wanted to fire it from maximum range just with that Lancer Laser Destroyer. It can also be equipped with an Iron Hail Heavy Stubber, which mine has as well. Again, that just gives it a little bit of extra bite if anything gets too close. And when I mean too close, the Iron Hail Heavy Stubber is not to be overlooked. It's a 36-inch range, heavy 4, strength 4, AP -1 and a damage of 1. Typically you'd ignore the pintle mounted weapons on tanks, like because they'd normally be a Storm Bolter, you know, which has no AP and only damage of 1. However, the Iron Hail Heavy Stubber has that extra range. It has the 4 shots instead of rapid fire 2, and it has the armor penetration of -1. So still a bit of it still packs a bit of an anti-infantry punch. The abilities: Angels of Death and Aquilin Optics. Each time this model makes an attack with a Lancer Laser Destroyer, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. That works exactly the same as the Repulsor Executioner. The old rules used to be that it could fire twice. I would actually prefer it to be able to fire twice from 72-inch range, getting 4 strength 10 shots. However, it's still decent that that heavy 2 shots, there's more chance that you're going to hit home with that. Hover tank distances are always measured to and from this model's hull and explodes. When this model is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. On a 6 it explodes and each unit within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. Keywords: Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Vehicle, Gladiator, Repulsor Field, Gladiator, Lancer. So there you go, that's my exhaustive review of this Space Marines Gladiator, the Lancer variant. I didn't find the kit too difficult. I managed to put it together in about 3 hours. I was obviously doing the live stream, so I was replying to comments and all the rest of it. The biggest issue you're going to have is with those repulsor plates. They're not so much difficult, they're just a bit boring and laborious to file all of the mould lines round. The model itself doesn't look too bad. It certainly looks better than the Storm Speeder, in my opinion. I think it's a great use of a strange funky looking tank, the Impulsor, and they put that top canopy on, they put a decent sized turret on there, and the weapons are all right. I just would have preferred them to have a bit beefier weapons and a bit beefier side sponsons. They certainly have a bit of an advantage over the Predators with the higher strength and the higher toughness and 1 extra wound, and it's up to you whether that's worth the trade-off of them being a little bit slower. If you're having trouble in picking which variant to go for, I break it down into the 3 categories. Range: if you're fighting against anything with range or you want to stay far away from anything, go for this Lancer. If you want to go for maximum number of shots, go for the Reaper. And then if you want to go for maximum armor penetration, I'd say against other vehicles or Terminator equivalents or high toughness units, then go for the Valiant. The Valiant is the one that punches the hardest. You've just got to get it in range. It's only got an effective range of 34 inches there with its multi-melters and its twin las cannons. But once it is in range within the 24 inches, it's going to do a lot of damage. So if you see a Valiant on the battlefield, try and take it out from range or get into close combat with it quickly to take it down. The Reaper is fantastic against Horde armies. It's got a decent range. It can stay back and fire the 30 inches. Those Tempest bolters, you know, they're not to be overlooked, you're going to get 8 shots with those from a range of 30 inches, and they still have an AP of -1, and also that's not including the twin heavy assault Gatling cannon, which is 24 shots there at 30-inch range with a better strength. Based on how well I was able to put this kit together and the weapon loadouts, I can safely say that I will be picking up the Reaper and the Valiant at some point, and rest assured I'll be doing individual reviews of those. What do you guys think of the Gladiator though? I'm interested to hear your opinion. Primaris have finally got a medium battle tank that doesn't break the bank in terms of well, both price and points cost. The Executioner is complete overkill. It's got a huge number of weapons and it can't transport anything, and it does cost £60 as well as a lot of points. If you don't want to spend as much on an Executioner, both points and money, these give your Primaris force a happy medium, but they're very specific in their loadouts, so you just got to be mindful of that. Put your thoughts and opinions down below as always. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.